So if you're looking to start a business in the Philippines, don't do it until you watch this video. Cover how not to go insane when trying to form a business or trying to do business in the Philippines. So you want to start a business in the Philippines, whether you're an expat or a Phil-Am, great idea. Maybe you're doing it because of the cheap labor, a growing economy in a developing country, and the backdrop is very tropical. But what they don't tell you is it can become a bureaucratic nightmare really fast. My name is Gov't. If you're new to the channel, thank you for jumping on. I hope you consider subscribing and giving it a thumbs up and liking the channel and sharing it to your friends. If you are a constant visitor, I really appreciate it. I really do. So at the present moment right now, I am a business consultant. I'm an executive at a startup company, and I'm basically a regular guy here trying to make it here in the Philippines. I'm fairly young. I'm still in that mode of working. So if you guys need help, comment down below and or hit me up on my calendar and try to schedule some time with me if I can help you break down some stuff, form your business potentially, or just sit down and try to get the landscape from my mind as to some of the landmines that I'm trying my best to make you avoid, because obviously the best way to go about life sometimes is learn from others so you can mitigate the risks and mitigate the stress 100%, okay? Maybe not 100%. If you're looking to start a business in the Philippines, right? There's a lot of attraction here, right? Especially like where I am right now in Cebu IT Park. Now, you're dealing with a low cost of living. You're dealing with affordable staffing here. That's why a lot of the BPO companies come through here. At the rates, it could be different because of the profession. However, it is significantly lower here compared to if you were to employ the same people in your home countries, especially in the westernized countries. Now, the Philippines is poised to grow because it's a developing country, it's a growing economy, and this is probably something very biased. We are near the beaches. We have very, very beautiful beaches here, mountainscapes. So you want to start a business in the Philippines, you're excited. You might be a Phil-Am, you might be an expat. Could be a great idea. However, it can go left really quickly. As in, it can become a bureaucratic nightmare very fast. In this video, we try to look into it. I try to help you as best as I can to make the best and most informed decision that you can make. So the top layer of everything here, especially if you're a foreigner, you're dealing with foreign, restrictions for ownership. Endless paperwork, just like the DMV in America. It's a perpetual waiting room everywhere you go, sometimes. Because you're dealing with a lot of things, Filipino time, you're dealing with just technology issues, and don't get me started with the taxes, because my wife and I just recently filed some paperwork for one of our businesses. That's for another video at the end of the day. But here's the thing, if you do it correctly, you set it up correctly, you can build a thriving business here in the Philippines without losing your mind. So stick around because I'm breaking it down exactly to some of my experiences and other experiences of many other business people here to hopefully help you on the path to journey of being an entrepreneur here in the Philippines, whether it's big and or small. I love it here in the Philippines, to be honest with you. Now, that goes without saying, the business landscape sometimes is very, very stressful. And I don't even get that involved most of the times anymore. But so let's get real. If you don't do it right, you're setting up yourself for failure 1,000%. So if you can imagine going to some of these offices in the Philippines, whether it's a municipal hall, with the BIR, a whole slew of things. Some of them have transitioned online, however, which is great because like 10 years ago, it wasn't that way. However, sometimes you gotta deal with, it's like the freaking DMV sometimes, and it's frustrating sometimes. It really is. Can a foreigner, generally speaking, open up a business here in the Philippines? Yes and no. That's pretty much the easy answer there. But let me try to dive into, try to give you some clarity here. So as I said, yes and no, it depends. So if you're looking to own 100%, like you as a foreigner owning a business here in the Philippines, 100%, is pretty limited. As a Phil-Am and you're a dual citizen, then you're pretty much like a Filipino citizen. So for you Phil-Ams, this is more of tips that you're like reacclimating yourself to the country and the systems here. This is tips for you guys as Phil-Ams. But as a foreigner, to own 100% of it is pretty limited from my research and from my experiences with talking to a lot of my friends here and entrepreneur friends here who are foreigners. As of making this video right now, plus is as a foreigner, if you want to own 100% of your business, you can allegedly, if you were to invest in the Philippines in a corporation and invest more than $200,000, which is about 10, 11 million pesos, you can fully own it. Take this with a grain of salt when I'm speaking with you, because you might have to ask a lawyer, because there are classifications for business types and lines of businesses. Keep that in mind. Now, there is something called an OPC that caters to, it's one person corporation that does cater to certain industries that you can own 100%. Now, businesses that require Filipino partner are usually retail businesses that are under 25 million pesos, which is about like $500,000. You know, check your currency right now. I'm only quoting USD at the moment right now. Anything local services wise, restaurants, shops, and things like that, it has to be owned by Filipinos at the percentage of 60%. So you as a foreigner can only own 40% of that particular business when it comes to retail shops and traditional businesses. So unless you have a Filipino partner that you trust or a Filipino spouse that you can trust as well, you might be restricted on what you can do. So do your due diligence as to what type of business you want to own. There are some legal workarounds, but we can talk about that later. Now I want to talk about registering your business, which is like this is like the biggest headache and thorn on my side when you first start a business here in the Philippines. The biggest headache is, you guessed it, paperwork. It's just, if paperwork was rain, it'd be a freaking thunderstorm, it'd be a monsoon. That's how I feel. So setting up a business in the Philippines is not a one-stop shop. A lot of it can be done offline now, but a lot of it also still has to be done offline, which is in office, in person. The headache that I feel sometimes, and comment down below if you feel the same way, is the many government agencies you have to go through, which is a bit redundant, but obviously you want to do business in a foreign country that's not your own, and maybe your own country has its own limitations as well. But just be prepared and if you have some patience when you try to set up a business here in the Philippines. Some of the things I'm going to mention to you right now are these some of the agencies. There's the DTI, there's the SSS, there's the LGU, there's the BIR, there's PhilHealth, and I believe Pag-ibig. So those are all terminologies to try to get this thing moving along to finish up your business permitting processes. So I can go really deep into it, and I can bring more people into the conversation if you are really looking to do some business formation and have someone like me handle everything as much as I can for you. So it's just like sign and go. But this is a very top layer discussion as to when forming a business in the Philippines. I just want to get that straight. I'm going to try to break it down in 5 steps so you can kind of like visualize it, hopefully. Generally, this is step by step. Now, you can hop around and get those things. This is not like an end-all be-all as in follow this list, but these are just things I've noticed. Write it down, take notes. So number 1, obviously choose its business structure. You kind of want to go, if you want to do sole proprietorship, limited, corporation, OPC. If you want to go corporation, then obviously you go through the SEC. So that's something that you have to really consider as to what type of business you're doing, especially on the restrictions as to ownership and the percentages of ownership. So I know a lot of people that run OPCs for their businesses. It could be like a BPO and focusing in marketing and things like that. So a lot of them run OPCs. And I also know friends who have corporations that foreigners are a part of the board, and they max it at 40%, unfortunately. But obviously, on the back end of things, you might be the main investor, and then you can have your own arrangement on the back end of things. But legally, front-facing, Filipino ownership is going to be at 60% for these traditional corporations. Number 2, you're going to have to register that business name, that entity to DTI or SEC. Now, time frames, from my understanding and from my experiences, DTI is super quick. SEC, I believe sometimes it might take up to 2 weeks or more. So just to kind of break it down, DTI is for like sole proprietorships. So SEC is more like actual like corporations and however that breaks down. Number 3 is get your local business permit from your mayor's office or the LGU, local government unit. Within this, there's also levels to that, as in you're gonna have to get a barangay clearance, maybe get a cedula, and another slew of things. But you're gonna be dealing the local LGU, local government unit. So keep that in mind. That might take some time. Just keep that in mind when you're actually to the level of getting all these permits and stuff via the LGU. Number 4, register with the BIR. This takes some time. Sometimes this can be, a lot of it is very redundant because it's still, unfortunately, still kind of old fashioned. You're gonna find out with like printing receipts, getting books, you're gonna find out. The main thing is pay your taxes or you're gonna face some big penalties. And sometimes at this phase of things, get involved with a really good bookkeeper, someone with industry knowledge, number 1, and connections. Number 5, set up for all the other things. Now, you set up the business ready, you set up the business name, the entity, and everything like that. You're gonna wanna set up the SSS, a PhilHealth, and all the government agencies. SSS is pretty much Social Security here, if you're an American. PhilHealth is probably very similar to like Medicaid, Medicare type thing. When you run business in America, you have SSS, and you have like disability. PhilHealth to some degree is kind of like that. And then Pag-ibig is another one that kind of helps with, from my understanding, the Philippine landscape, it helps with loaning for, properties, and or they take mortgages with their Pag-ibig. Or it's another form of getting money and putting it into like a real estate investment. And some of your employees will get loans against what they put into the SSS and Pag-ibig. So once again, if you have employees, it's the law to get SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig. So just keep that in mind. Does it sound overwhelming? It is. So this is my hack and what I've done for many years. I usually get a trusted bookkeeper. At the same time, get a runner. A runner is someone who you basically give them an SPA, or you can do through a lawyer as well. They'll run it too. They're a bit more pricey, but a runner is pretty much a business consultant. Basically, you give them the SPA to process the business for you. They're the ones waiting online. They're the ones processing everything out, and they just submit to you the cost of every single item. Now, it's up to you to do your own due diligence to hold them accountable for all the processing, the amounts, because I've heard crazy stories sometimes where people trust someone to run these businesses and they overquote them, or it could be this amount, but they charge them crazy amounts of money. So be careful with that, okay? Use a trusted like bookkeeper, business consultant, and or lawyer, and it has to be on paper as well. I like everything on contracts as to what they're gonna do, what their cost is. I like everything upfront to a great degree, as in what their cost is, what like the expenditure for them, rather than all the item lines and stuff. And obviously back up those item lines with receipts, so you know that all your money's going the right way. With that said, however you go, whether it's a runner, a lawyer, a family friend, if you trust them, it will streamline everything for you on the back end. As you as a foreigner or a Filipino American, just sitting on the back end waiting for everything to get processed, because it saves you a lot of headaches. Oh my God, you don't know how many times this has helped me save from a lot of migraines, to be honest with you. But just be diligent with all your paperwork and making sure that you do not get ripped off. It is your fault if you get ripped off, because at the end of the day, you have to practice discernment as to, do you trust this person? Is this person legitimate? Do they have reviews? Is it a referral from a really good person? You have to factor all those things in, okay? Now you have set up your businesses, you have a place to rent, or you're up and running. Now you're gonna have to be dealing with the cultural differences in the Filipino setting. So you have a business, you have a product, you have a service, but you're employing Filipinos, and that comes with cultural differences and nuances. So you as an American are gonna have to adjust and try to find that middle ground as to holding your standard, as well as understanding culturally how to integrate those two and work synergistically. So I just want to preface this because this is an ongoing thing that I'm always developing. I'm always trying my best to learn, because at the end of the day, we are employing Filipinos. So I have to really understand that situation there. Being that I'm from New York, I can come off very abrasive and brash. But over the years, I try my best to hold them accountable, the employees, without being so harsh. So, take that with a grain of salt. If you guys are very like, do this now, I want this now, I want it yesterday. Those talks sometimes do not go well here in the Philippines. Another important thing I want you to really understand is business in the Philippines, it's really, unfortunately, who you know and who you're around. In America and other westernized countries, it's a handshake, it's a contract, you get business done, you're good to go. Because it's all transactional business-wise. Here in the Philippines, though, it's very relationship-based, very relational. So there's a sense of a bit more intimacy here in the Philippines rather than like westernized countries. So here are some common culture shocks for foreigners or maybe fellow AMs doing business here in the Philippines. Slow responses and delays. There, in the Philippines, especially in the Bisaya area, there's a term called bahala na or ugmara. So there's a sense of procrastination here, and it's real. As in, like, if it's towards the end of the day, it's not that heavy on the priorities list, people push it off. They're slow, and there's a bit of a delay there. Versus like the westernized mindset, especially from New York, like, I want it yesterday. Where is this thing? You're gonna find some issues where you might get frustrated, you might get baffled as to why is the work not being done. So please understand that. Indirect communication. Filipinos avoid confrontation. There's a very passive-aggressive nature here in the Philippines. So you will find that you need to read between the lines. You need to be really good on your EQ, really good on reading nonverbal cues and things like that. So this is something I've noticed while I'm doing here business in the Philippines, right? Looking people in the eye is very important here, looking at their mannerisms. And this is what usually happens. You'll be like, you have a team meeting, you're talking, or even individual. Hey, do you have any questions for me? Do you have any things I need to clarify so we can get this thing going? Many of the Filipinos here will be like, I'm good. I have nothing to say. I have nothing right now, the present moment right now. But then they will then go to their neighbor, which is their coworker, and be like, how do I do this? How do you do that? How do I take care of this? How do I take care of that? I'm so confused. It's odd to me, but it happens a lot here. So you kind of need to really read between the lines, and a lot of it is saving faces. Filipinos don't want to seem as if they're incompetent. So you really got to be like really in tune with your people, watch them from afar, and then if there's an actual issue, just intervene and be like, let me help you with that. That's usually one thing that I've encountered here where there's a lot of indirect communication. Number 3, decision making can take time here, as in time, just like Filipino time. Like decision making sometimes is not as urgent as you need it to be, because I found that the hierarchy here, the hierarchical system here in the Philippines, it's real. So it does take time to go through the ladder. So I found that dealing with businesses, like, sir, can you give me about a week? It's a hassle, to be honest with you. Now, the good parts of doing business in the Philippines, right, is that building trust is everything, right? One of the best things here in the Philippines is once you build that trust, it's pretty much gold, because once a connection is made, some people here will bend over backwards to make that happen for you. Because connections, I can't stress it even more. Connections open doors here in the Philippines. So don't be so abrasive to the point where you're pissing people off. Because the person you're speaking with or around or watching you on your purview might be a really important person down the line. So networking is really key here in the Philippines, to be honest with you. I can't tell you how many times in life that I've gotten some business deals and some just pure on like, hey Gil, we're trying to do this investment. I want to know if you want to be a part of it. That has happened to me so many times, just not even based on my background, my experience, just based on a connection I have with that person or a person that referred to me or they just brought me into the circle. It's super important here. Networking is super important here. So you have to truly understand, to recap all this, if you push too hard, you're not going to end up well. You're going to burn bridges. You are going to just burn and fail, to be honest with you. So the key thing is be adaptable, be patient, be strategical in the way you approach business here in the Philippines. And the number one thing is build relationships here, real relationships here. And another underlying thing is that patience is really a virtue here in the Philippines. Next one is taxes and business expenses. Now, I usually track a lot because I'm pretty anal about certain things. But if you're not used to that, this might be a hurdle for you. But I want you to know that Philippine taxes hit differently. It's not as straightforward as maybe what you're used to in America. Now, common taxes here for businesses in the Philippines are, so obviously corporate tax. So it's about 25% and 20% for small businesses. There's non-VAT and VAT, but generally speaking, VAT is 12% that they're gonna tax you. And unless you're non-exempt. So we can go deeper into that in another video. Now there's local business taxes that need to be paid. So I guess in an American's point of view, BIR is like the federal taxes and things like that. And then the local taxes are like your state taxes. And then there's payroll taxes, which are basically income tax. You know, like in America, you're gonna have to withhold and remit. A lot of people play around with these numbers as in like, there's the base salary and the allowances. We don't really have that structure in America. It is what it is. This is what you get paid per hour, per whatever salary is. It is what it is. Here in the Philippines, understand that some employees ask you like, is that my base pay? Is that my allowance? Is that all in? This is what they mean. Because some companies, you're picturing it as 30,000 pesos. Now, out of that 30,000 pesos, 15,000 can be the base, 20,000 can be the base. This is what they're consistently getting all the time. But then there's a portion there that's considered an allowance. It might be 10, it might be 5K. Now, some companies here in the Philippines use that allowance portion to KPI that or metric that. So it's really up to 30,000, but they don't put that here. It should be up to 30,000, up to whatever, because the base pay could be 15K, but if you don't hit your metrics, you don't hit this, you don't hit that, then you're not gonna get the full 30K. You know, that's the number we're using right now. So just understand how people, you know, run those numbers from time to time here in the Philippines. Now, there are companies who are all in, as in like, whatever the rate is, this is what they give you, and there's an allowance or whatever. Also in the Philippines, every employee here has night differential. Just not to go super deep into it, there's so many holidays here. You're gonna have to get a really good accountant, bookkeeper. When those holidays hit, it can be double pay, 30%, 100%. There's so many, it's a different timetable for those particular holidays. So it can be a headache. So please prepare yourself for these variances and nuances, okay? Compliance is a headache. Filipinos are very thorough with that situation there. Compliance is a headache here. So my pro tip, always hire an accountant to deal with all these things for you, because I'm getting exhausted just start thinking about it right now. So at the end of the day, why would you start a business? To make money and to grow the business. Scale it to the point where you're making buku bucks, hopefully. That's my mindset. So once your business is up and running, can you really make money in the Philippines with certain businesses? Yes, you can. So number one, target the growing middle class. They're the ones spending the bread, because the demand for affordable luxuries is rising here in the Philippines. Everyone in here, maybe in America as well, and what's other countries, everyone to a great degree wants to experience the luxury while still working at their job. Everybody, especially with the social media situation now where everybody wants those Instagrammable moments. Everybody wants those picturesque moments. I travel, I do this, I do that, because they love the atmosphere, they love the ambiance. Moreover, if you can make it affordable and they can still live the life that they see as maybe luxurious or they're in a good setting, you're gonna be in a good setting at the end of the day. Go after the middle class, target the growing middle class here. Number two, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of Filipinos are on the internet. So leverage digital marketing, however that is, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram. Filipinos are very keen on being on the internet, and Filipinos are into from what I understand and from what I notice, Filipinos love trends. They follow trends, they follow fads. So that's a very thin line. There's a razor sharp thin line as to that can go away in 6 months. Well, all I'm saying is leverage digital marketing. Number three, offer convenience. Because of the westernized influence of what they're seeing now in other countries, Filipinos love convenience, because although there is Filipino time, Filipinos don't want to waste their own time. They want to be in and out, in and out. Think about this. There's Grab here. There's Move It here. They want to go the easy way. So if you can create a business that can provide convenience for many of the Filipinos here, I think you might have struck gold. A lot of the things here, and many Filipinos and many people worldwide, now they just want everything hassle-free. So if you can provide that, you're good to go. Number four, last but not least, build a strong network, whether it's through digitally, socially, in person. Building that strong network will solidify your business, right? Because they're the ones that are always going to promote your business for you. Those are your people that are die-hard loyalists and things like that. There were times when we ran a restaurant where we would see the same people every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And networking, whether it's with a customer or either other entrepreneurs, will help your business grow faster. Obviously making the right decisions for that business. So my takeaway is that if you really understand the Filipino mindset, you can scale your business very quickly. I'll give you a great example. Wherever you go, and especially in the Visayas and the Mindanao area, there's this brand called Thirsty. They just sell, I think, watermelon shakes and just fruit shakes. But that place, they understand the market, as in like the price, the location, and all these things. And they have a franchise model as well. But those guys or that owner, I don't know the owner, but I know who owns it. That guy's a genius when it comes to how he's doing his thing. So he's an example of someone who understands the Filipino mindset and has struck hard on it. And fortunately, he's doing super, very, very well. It's become a lucrative business for him. So once again, be patient, be adaptable, really understand your customer base. This is like, regular customer knowledge 101 type thing. But really understand, because of you're in this culture, you're doing business in this culture, understand that culture. And don't shove down whatever westernized standards you have down their throat and not expect for any pushback. Kind of find that synergy. You can build up the standards at the same time, but education and adaptability for me has always been key. So my final thoughts, can you do business in the Philippines without losing your sanity? Of course you can. And here's how. Know the laws. Expect cultural differences. Plan for the red tape. And always focus on relationships. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, share it amongst your friends. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the growth of the channel. And I would love for this particular video, I'm gonna put it out there, 10,000 views. What do you think, guys? Can we reach 10,000 views so we can help 10,000 people? So with that said, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Taking time out of your day to listen to me. And if you need assistance in forming a business or anything wise, life-wise, culture, I do like life and accountability coaching. And I do basic leadership management, like leadership, motivation, leadership coaching as well. So if you need any of that assistance with your situation right now, please feel free to email me. There's my email, my calendar, the link is down below. I would love to talk to you, connect, and hopefully we can do business together, maybe, and move forward, and let me just help you and be a part of the journey of your growth. So take care, God bless, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.